How are you guys doing? Today is Thursday, April 1st, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, now that we've made it through the month of March and we are slowly creeping towards the end of the NBA season, I still think it's worthwhile just to give a little bit of an update as to the players in the NBA that are averaging 20 points all the way up through April. And so far, I'm looking at this through ESPN, and so far the least amount of games that anyone on this list has played that can qualify is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's played 35 games. So, of course, out of the people that are playing 35-plus games and averaging 20-plus points, I still think it's worth noting because that is still an elite feat to do, and that is an incredibly tough feat to average 20 points over all of these different games in the NBA. So, without further ado, I'm going to give the honorable mention the players that are averaging at least 19.5 points, but not exactly averaging 20. Currently 37th in the league in scoring, you'll have Ja Morant, the elite starting point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies this season, who's currently averaging 19.5 points alongside his 3.4 rebounds and 7.5 assists this season. He also, he's been helping the Memphis Grizzlies jump out to the 10th best record in the Western Conference to give a sense of what Ja Morant is doing. And then 36th in the NBA, the highest scorer in the NBA that isn't averaging 20 points per game is Gordon Hayward, the starting small forward for the Charlotte Hornets, who this season is averaging 19.9 points alongside his almost 6 rebounds and 4 assists a game, just to give a sense of where he is at this point in time through his 42 games in the season. So now, right now, the lowest 20-point per game scorers in the league are Malik Beasley of the Minnesota Timberwolves and Pascal Siakam, the elite starting power forward of the Toronto Raptors. Both these players are averaging 20. Malik Beasley is averaging 20 points alongside 4.4 rebounds and 2.4 assists. This season, he's played 36 games as the Minnesota Timberwolves currently have the worst record in the Western Conference, but of course, he's been able to kind of hold his own. And alongside him, Pascal Siakam is averaging 20 points in 39 games alongside his 7.4 rebounds and 4.7 assists and just over a steal per game. This season, Pascal Siakam has 9 double-doubles to his name as he's currently helping the Toronto Raptors as they are sitting with the 11th best record, the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference at the moment. Sitting in 33rd is his Toronto teammate, Fred VanVleet, out of Wichita State. In 43 games, Fred VanVleet is averaging 20.1 points alongside his 4.3 rebounds and 6.2 assists. He's also averaging just under 2 steals a game as, like I said, the Toronto Raptors now hold the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference. Sitting right above him in the 32nd place, it is the 2-time All-Star power forward for the Indiana Pacers, Domantas Sabonis. In 46 games, he's averaging 20.2 points alongside 11.3 rebounds and 6.1 assists and just over a steal per game. He has 32 double-doubles in his 46 games, which is just over 2/3 of the games that he's played. And thus far, the Indiana Pacers are holding on to the 9th best record as they are just sitting outside of the playoff picture. Right ahead of him is Chris Middleton, the starting small forward for the Milwaukee Bucks, who's played 46 games in a season where the Milwaukee Bucks are currently sitting with the 3rd best record in the Eastern Conference, sitting 2.5 games behind the Brooklyn Nets. This season, Middleton's averaging 20.3 points alongside 6 rebounds and 5.4 assists. Sitting 30th in the NBA in scoring is DeMar DeRozan, the starting small forward for the San Antonio Spurs. He's averaging 20.6 points through 38 games. Right now, the San Antonio Spurs are sitting with the 8th best record, so of course he's helping out in that aspect too. Alongside his 20.6 points, he's averaging 4.4 rebounds and 7.2 assists this season. Sitting right ahead of him in 29th is Terry Rozier, who's played 44 games and is averaging 20.7 points for a Charlotte Hornets team that's sitting 4th in the Eastern Conference. Terry Rozier, alongside his 20.7 points, is averaging 4 rebounds and 3.5 assists a game as he's averaging just over a steal, as he still has yet to register a double-double this season. Sitting right ahead of him, or sitting right alongside him in 28th place, who's also averaging 20.7 points through his 42 games this season. Tobias Harris is, like I said, averaging 20.7 points while averaging 7.5 rebounds and 3.6 assists with a double-digit amount of double-doubles for a Philadelphia 76ers team that until yesterday has led the entire Eastern Conference for the entirety of the season, just to give a little bit of a sense of how he was doing. Sitting 27th in the league is Malcolm Brogdon, as he's currently averaging 21.2 points per game in 44 games for the Indiana Pacers team that's currently sitting 9th in the NBA, sitting one game behind the Boston Celtics. Right now, Malcolm Brogdon is averaging 4.8 assists and 4.8 rebounds per game and 5.9 assists per game, along with 21.2 points. And sitting right alongside him in that 26th spot in scoring in the NBA is Jamal Murray, the elite starting point guard for the Denver Nuggets. This season, in 45 games, the Blue Arrow is currently averaging 21.2 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 4.9 assists for a Denver Nuggets team that's currently sitting 5th, tied with the Portland Trail Blazers in the Western Conference, as they sit half a game behind the defending champs Los Angeles Lakers. Right ahead of Jamal Murray is Russell Westbrook, the elite starting point guard for the Washington Wizards. Right now, he's played 39 games for a team that's currently sitting with the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference. But so far, Westbrook is averaging 21.8 points, 10.3 rebounds, and 10.6 assists, as thus far he has 29 double-doubles in his 39 games, and he has 14 triple-doubles. Even though the Wizards aren't doing that well, Russell Westbrook in his own is putting up yet another amazing historic season in the record books. Sitting right ahead of him in 24th place in scoring, you have Paul George, the elite starting shooting guard for the Los Angeles Clippers, who's averaging 22.5 points over 36 games for a Los Angeles Clippers team that's currently sitting 3rd in the Western Conference. Alongside his 22.5 points, he's averaging 6.3 rebounds and 5.5 assists and just over a steal per game. Sitting right ahead of him in 23rd place is Jeremy Grant, the starting small forward for the Detroit Pistons. Right now, he's averaging 22.8 points through 44 games for a Detroit Pistons team that's sitting at the very bottom of the Eastern Conference. But nonetheless, Jeremy Grant, alongside his nearly 23 points per game, he's averaging just under 5 rebounds and just under 3 assists per game. Right ahead of him, sitting in 22nd place, is the New York Knicks' newest all-star power forward, Julius Randle, who's played 47 games and is averaging 23.1 points per game for a New York Knicks team that's currently tied with the Heat for the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference. Right now, Julius Randle's averaging 23.1 points alongside 10.8 rebounds and 5.8 assists, as he has 28 double-doubles in 47 games and over half the games that he's played. Sitting right ahead of him is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the starting shooting guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder out of Kentucky. Through 35 games, the least amount of games out of all the players that are on this leaderboard. He's averaging 23.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 5.9 assists in 35 games for an Oklahoma City Thunder team that's currently sitting with the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference at the moment. Sitting right ahead of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as we enter the top 20, Brandon Ingram, the elite starting small forward for the New Orleans Pelicans, is averaging 23.8 points in 46 games, alongside 4.9 rebounds and 4.7 assists. Looking at how the Pelicans are faring this season, they have the 4th worst record, but of course Brandon Ingram holding it down the best he can as he's sitting 2nd on the team in scoring. Right behind Zion Williamson. Sitting 19th in the league in scoring is Colin Sexton, who's right now averaging 23.9 points in the 40 games he's playing for a Cleveland Cavaliers team that's currently holding the 3rd worst record in the conference. Alongside his nearly 24 points per game, he's averaging 2.9 rebounds and 4.2 assists with just over a steal per game. And sitting right ahead of Colin Sexton is Nikola Vucevic, the newest all-star center for the Chicago Bulls. Right now, he's averaging 24.4 points. He did most of it for the Orlando Magic. In this season, he's also averaging 11.6 rebounds and 3.8 assists, as he has 30 double-doubles in the 47 games that he's played so far. Sitting ahead of Nikola Vucevic in 17th place is Jaylen Brown, the first-time all-star shooting guard for the Boston Celtics. In 44 games, games this season, he's averaging 24.5 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, and 3.7 assists, as he's currently averaging just over a steal per game, second in the team in scoring behind Jason Tatum. Sitting right ahead of Jaylen Brown is De'Aaron Fox, the starting point guard for the Sacramento Kings. This season, through 47 games, he's averaging 24.7 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 7.2 assists, with just over a steal per game, as he has 10 double-doubles through 47 games. As, of course, he is the leading scorer for a Sacramento Kings team that is sitting with the fifth worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 7 of their last 10 at the moment. One of the biggest reasons that they're doing that is because of De'Aaron Fox. And then once we jump into the top 15, you get to see that there are 15 players in the NBA entering the month of April that are averaging 25 points per game throughout the season. Sitting in 15th place in the league is Jason Tatum, the elite starting small forward for the Boston Celtics out of Duke University. Through 42 games, he's averaging 25.3 points, 6.9 rebounds, and 4.4 assists, averaging 1.4 steals, as he's currently the leading scorer of a Boston Celtics team that is currently sitting with the 8th best record in the Eastern Conference at the very moment. They've lost 7 of their last 10, but they're still comfortably sitting in that spot. Sitting right ahead of Jason Tatum is LeBron James, the goated small forward for the Los Angeles Lakers out of St. Vincent St. Mary High School. Looking into how he's doing this season in his 17th All-Star season, he's averaging 25.4 points alongside 7.9 rebounds and 7.9 assists, averaging a steal in the 41 games he's playing, as he is currently the leading scorer for a Los Angeles Lakers team that is sitting 4th in the Western Conference, 6.5 games behind the first place Utah Jazz, as Anthony Davis does not qualify for this list. But alongside LeBron James averaging 25.4 points per game is Trae Young, the elite starting point guard for the Atlanta Hawks. Through 45 games, he's averaging 25.4 points, 4 rebounds, and 9.5 assists per game, as he is the leading scorer for an Atlanta Hawks team that is sitting with the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference at the very moment, just to give a sense of how well Trae Young is performing this season. Sitting right ahead of Trae Young in 12th place is Devin Booker, the elite starting shooting guard for the Phoenix Suns, who this season is averaging 25.5 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, and he's also averaging 4.5 assists, while he is the leading scorer for a Phoenix Suns team that is sitting with the 2nd best record in the Western Conference at the moment, just to give a sense of how well Devin Booker has been performing. Sitting right ahead of Devin Booker in 11th is Donovan Mitchell, the elite starting shooting guard for the Utah Jazz. This season, in 44 games, he's averaging 25.7 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists, averaging just a steal. He is the leading scorer for the Utah Jazz. The Jazz are currently holding the best record in the NBA, to give a sense of how well Donovan Mitchell's been performing this year. Now entering the top 10. 10th in the league in scoring right now is James Harden, who I believe is the current leader in assists in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken. But thus far this season, James Harden is averaging 25.9 points, alongside 8.2 rebounds and 11.1 assists this season, also averaging over a steal per game. In the 41 games he's played, he has 29 double-doubles and 11 triple-doubles to his name this season, as he is currently the leading scorer for a Brooklyn Nets team that is sitting on top they're sitting on top of the Eastern Conference for the very first time this season, just to give a sense of how James Harden is competing, and many people are saying that he is deserving of the MVP award. I would be one of those people saying he is a player that is deserving of that award. Sitting right ahead of him in 9th place is Kawhi Leonard, the goated small forward for the Los Angeles Clippers. In 40 games so far this season, he's averaging 26 points, alongside 6.3 rebounds and 4.9 assists, as he's averaging 1.8 steals per game, serving as the leading scorer for a Los Angeles Clippers team that is sitting with the 3rd best record in the Western Conference at the moment. Sitting ahead of Kawhi Leonard in 8th place, it is the 2nd year elite power forward and first-time All-Star Zion Williamson for the Pelicans, who in 44 games is averaging 26.4 points, 7.1 rebounds, and 3.5 assists, as he has 10 double-doubles. He's the leading scorer for a New Orleans Pelicans team that is sitting with the 4th worst record in the Western Conference at the NBA. Sitting right ahead of Zion Williamson, averaging 26.8 points, is Nikola Jokic, the elite starting center for the Denver Nuggets. Through 45 games alongside his 26.8, he's averaging 11.1 rebounds, 8.5 assists, and 1.1 steals. In 47 games, he has 40 double-doubles, who I think that's currently leading the NBA. And he also has 12 triple-doubles, which is sitting pretty close to the top, which is sitting second in the league behind Russell Westbrook at the moment. And he is also serving as the leading scorer for a Denver Nuggets team that's tied with the Portland Trailblazers for the fifth best record in the Western Conference, to give a sense of how well how well Nikola Jokic has been scoring. Sitting in sixth in the league is scoring is Zach LaVine, the elite starting shooting guard for the Chicago Bulls. Through 45 games, he's averaging 27.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 4.8 assists per game, as he's serving as the leading scorer for a Chicago Bulls team sitting 10th in the NBA Eastern Conference, as they've lost their last 5 games. To give a little bit of context, with Zach LaVine still the leading scorer. Entering the top 5, the 5th leading scorer in the NBA is Giannis Antetokounmpo, the elite starting power forward, the reigning NBA MVP, back-to-back MVP, the reigning NBA Defensive Player of the Year, and the reigning NBA All-Star Game MVP. Right now, he's currently averaging 28.3 points per game through 44 games, alongside 11.4 rebounds and 6.3 assists, 1.1 steals, and 1.3 blocks. Through 44 games, he has 30 double-doubles and 7 triple-doubles, as he currently serves as the leading scorer for a Milwaukee Bucks team that is holding the third best record in the Eastern Conference, 2.5 games behind the first place Brooklyn Nets. Sitting ahead of Giannis is Luka Doncic, the elite starting point guard for the Dallas Mavericks. Through 41 games, he's averaging 28.7 points, 8.1 rebounds, and 8.1 assists, averaging a steal. Through 41 games, he has 19 double-doubles and 9 triple-doubles, as he currently serves as the leading scorer for a Dallas Mavericks team that is holding the 7th best record in the conference, as they sit 10.5 games behind the first place Utah Jazz, to give a sense of where they are. Sitting ahead of Luka Doncic, third place in the NBA of scoring is Stephen Curry, the goated point guard for the Golden State Warriors. Through 40 games, he's averaging 29.1 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 6.2 assists, averaging over a steal per game, as he's currently serving as the leading scorer for a Golden State Warriors team that is holding the 9th best record in the Western Conference, as they currently sit 2 games out of the playoff picture. Sitting right ahead of Stephen Curry as the second leading scorer is Damian Lillard, the elite starting point guard for the Portland Trailblazers out of Weber State. Through 45 games this season, he's averaging 29.8 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 7.8 assists per game, as he has 10 double-doubles on the season through 45 games, like I just said. And he's currently serving as the leading scorer for a Portland Trailblazers team that is tied with the 5th place Nuggets out west, as they sit 7 games out of first place. And last but not least, sitting at the very top of the league, the only player in the NBA averaging at least 30 points per game this season is Bradley Beal, the elite starting shooting guard for the Washington Wizards. This season, through 41 games, he's averaging 31.3 points per game, alongside 5 rebounds, 4.8 steals, and 4.8 assists, and 1.2 steals, as he's currently serving as the leading scorer for a Washington Wizards team that is that is the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference. With that said, those are all the players this season that are averaging at least 20 points per game and at least 35 games played this season. Of course, there are players that are averaging 20 points per game that have played less, but these are the players that are recognized as, of course, that's of course how stats are recorded. But with that said, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to all 18 minutes and 37 minutes of this piece. Once again, today is Thursday, April 1st, 2021. And once we are through the month of April, of course, I will provide yet another video just to show how amazing it is for these players to consistently be averaging 20 points per game. And once we get to May 1st, I will provide a whole new episode then and there. With that said, thanks once again for listening to all 19 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. I'm James Sims, and I'll thank you for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you next month.